fast food chains now are considering closing the indoor option or indoor seating here in the United States. In many cities, that mandates vaccine checks. Obviously, for many establishments, especially for the food and restaurant industry, requiring vaccination or vaccination card and so forth can be laborious. And obviously for consumers, if you think about it, why would I go to that establishment if they're going to need it? I think it boils down to being responsible here. If you're vaccinated, then you should be allowed to go out, and if you're not vaccinated, then everyone should still wear proper personal protection equipment here, regardless of the not being callous as to just because you're vaccinated you don't wear any sort of protection, whether face shield or even face mask, and it goes both ways here. Anyway, let's take a look here. So according to Reuters.com, so fast food chain is closing the indoor. So now obviously the indoor seating is a big component. Wait, let's see here. So the indoor component for many, fast foods rely on the indoor or dine-in component. Obviously, they may have features for takeout delivery, but that's not the main brand. It's a supplement, but not the key component. And I think many restaurants are relying for people to come out again and go to their favorite restaurants here. And shutting down here is a big decision. In particular, if you're a big fast food chain like McDonald's here. So let's see here. So you can see here that New York, San Francisco, and other cities around the country in the United States require restaurants to check proof for COVID-19 vaccination, which is, it makes sense, but has every citizen in the country been vaccinated? That's the whole point here. And especially in our country, even not even half of the population has been vaccinated, so requiring that would be difficult. Who's going to monitor, and that's going to add additional cost. Anyways, so fast food chains are simply shutting down their seating areas altogether to avoid this issue. Now obviously this is going to impact their bottom line or sales. So you have burger chain White Castle shutting down seating sections in more than 20 New York City locations now. For those not familiar, White Castle was very popular, especially when the movie of Harold and Kumar Goes to White Castle, if you remember that movie. Anyway, so obviously it's not just White Castle that's doing this, but other big fast food chain here. And obviously eliminating the dining option, as mentioned here, they have to rely on the takeout service, which is obviously for many is not enough unless you reduce the number of employees in your establishment, which is not a sustainable thing. And obviously the solution here is to find a way to get consumers dining in any particular restaurant here, because at the end of the day, especially in the more upscale restaurants, you could just imagine, obviously getting takeout is possible, but the experience won't be the same. Just like if I ordered in a takeout in a fast food restaurant, is it any different from a more upscale restaurants here? And obviously that's going to be detriment for the restaurants that are operating here. Now you have Taco Bell on the other hand. It encouraged customers to place digital orders for pickup and delivery, so using technology now to expedite the process. But obviously, again, you need to have a lot of takeouts to be able to generate the revenue that you're accustomed even before when people are dining in your establishment. You also have McDonald's on the other hand, are considering multiple factors when they're deciding to close the indoor seating. Obviously, the COVID cases, if it's increasing, could be difficult to manage. And what if the establishment were blamed because you did not provide the necessary safety protocol, so to speak? Then you have to consider the local regulations that a particular state or even region is required. And then you have staffing levels, just to name a few. So it was much better to just simply close the indoor capacity here. And obviously that may change in the future here, but obviously many restaurants have reached a low in terms of let's see here, Restaurants have rebounded from last year's mid-pandemic up to 9% to 400, almost half a trillion dollars here in 12 months. But still, the limiting factor in terms of the requirements of the vaccination is going to be a key difficult part to implement here. Now, obviously, especially for different states that require, if you're going to work, you need to be vaccinated, which is important. But the problem here is how can you regulate that if your customers, whether they bring their vaccination card or not, then you have to implement a system, maybe an online where they can just flash a QR code or something if they're vaccinated or not. Because if you bring a vaccination card, they can be forged here. So meaning, people can still lie about it and can be documented. So is it a long-term solution? Maybe not necessarily here. So we'll see if fast food chains will continue to stick with this change of strategy here.